Hey.
What is going on?
Wow, I'm hearing some. What am I hearing? I'm hearing, I think, somebody's phone.
Oh, no. Not mine.
No.
Really? That was weird. I'm hearing this feedback. Wow, I'm hearing some.
How about now?
Nope, nothing now. It's good now.
Yep, it was probably that company thing I was telling you about. Yep, that's probably what it was.
Told you. Is that your soundboard?
Yes, I told you. I have no idea how to run this thing yet. It came with no instructions. It's absolutely amazing. Love Temu.
You know what my suggestion would be? Go over to YouTube and punch it in and learn how to how to use it. That would probably, that's what I did with this soundboard that I have, and it's Focusrite that I have. So, and it's great, but I have to be honest, it's a little finicky at times. So my headphones don't actually plug into the soundboard. I have to get an extension and then plug it into the keyboard. And the problem was, when the first extension I bought was silver, and apparently silver doesn't work very well, so I had to get gold.
Oh. Sorry. Watch out.
Well, it's not real gold, obviously.
No, yeah.
It's really, really super weird why one works and one doesn't.
Hey, thank God for YouTube.
Well, this is it, right? This like, it's super, super weird. Well, you know, this is we're gonna have a great show tonight. We have we'll get you to introduce your friend beside you or your aunt. But there's a couple things that we need to talk about before we start. Obviously, everybody saw the new promotion video for the Global Ghost Hunt. So we are obviously open to take signups. So you can go over to globalghosthunt.com and sign up your team or your haunted location. So getting ready for next April and May, right? It's going to be a lot of fun.
May, baby. April 25th to May 5th.
Yeah, and I don't think I talk about this a lot, but next year I'm going to be in Arizona Tombstone for the Global Ghost Hunt. So I am going to be a speaker at the Tombstone Paracon, Wild West Paracon, and I'm also going to be investigating Shefflin Hall.
That's going to be awesome.
Which,
it's a Wild West
people
town.
don't know, Shefflin Hall you are not allowed to go into. So they are opening it up for me, but I'm going to be
bow down to
they're
the king.
opening up for me, so there'll be actually the first real live investigation that's going to be taking place there. Now the great thing is I'm going to be with GTI, Ghost Trip Investigations. Emmy's going to be there as well. Matt is going to be there with the Wicked Queen, and I invited somebody today as well. And I'll leave that further down the road on who that person is. It's kind of a special guest kind of type of person. So
Oh,
I
okay.
spoke to her today, and it's going to be a lot of fun to finally meet her. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun, and it's going to be a great investigation. I'm looking forward to meeting the guys from Ghost Trip Investigations.
Yeah.
So hopefully it will be very, very successful. Especially on the UK side, because they have a lot of followers in the UK, being that they're from the UK. So,
Yeah.
anyhow, other than that, there's a first tonight for us
Absolutely.
on any shows that we've done. Talking with the Source, Through the Lens, now crime documentaries. For the first time, we are live on Instagram.
Yes, we are.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if people don't know, you can now hook up your Instagram to StreamYard. Now it's in beta right now. They are having problems apparently with the show shutting off after an hour. And then on top of that, you basically have to set it up separately.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's actually a pain in the ass, to be completely honest. But and as long as you have a computer, you're straight. But if you have a phone, you cannot do it. You have to do it through the computer, and it's really a pain because you have to get the key and put the key in. But I mean, you know what? We made it happen, and I'm glad we're live right now. So hi to everyone on.
Are we live on there right now?
Oh, we are.
We are, eh? Now, I
Oh,
will let people know, and they tell us in StreamYard, we are unable to see the comments in the community chat here through StreamYard. So AJ does have it open, which is, unfortunately, you have to have the tab open in order for it to stay live. If you
yep.
close the tab, your live will close down. So, yeah, so if there's any questions or anything like that coming from Instagram, AJ will let us know, and we'll ask Anna those questions if any of them come up. But AJ, you want to go ahead and introduce our guest?
Yes, absolutely. So tonight we have on female correctional officer, my aunt Anna Desorbo. Super happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
So, so it's going to be a good night. But I want you to ask the first question actually, because I know so much because I get to see it every day. So I kind of want you to ask the first question, to be honest.
Well, I think the first obvious question would be, what made you decide to become a correctional officer? Because I have to be honest, it's not a choice that a lot of people make.
It isn't.
And especially, and I'm not, and people, please don't get upset when I say this. It's not something normally women choose to do, which I think is amazing. I think it's amazing that you're doing it. I wish more women would do it, but I understand women are not necessarily comfortable doing it because of unfortunately, the circumstances. So why don't you let us know how you actually got into the becoming a correctional officer?
Well, I ask myself that every day sometimes.
I knew that was coming.
Well, actually, this is my second career. I was in banking for a little over 20 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a
Big
what
world
a
of
change.
swap.
It's a whole big change.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Total swap.
Well,
Yeah.
there is some kind of correlation if you really think about it, because people rob banks
And
and
I
get
have
thrown
been
into
through
jail.
that too. So I've been robbed, so I know how that is at gunpoint.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So
Oh wow.
it's,
Yeah.
it's kind of here or there. Well, I guess you're not safe really anywhere, um, but yeah. So after I left the bank, retired from the bank, um, looking around at jobs and just the benefits and a retirement was just like, oh, you know what? I started doing it as for ha-has, never thinking I was going to pass I figured the written test I could pass, but the agility test, I figured, nah, because I was 46 when I started that career.
Oh
So
wow. Wow,
yeah,
that's great.
I was young by the time I got out of the bank, and it takes a couple of years by the time you do your interviews and your testings and everything before you even get offered the job. So it's like, it's not quick, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So That's how I actually did it. I was looking at the benefits and things they offered, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't so bad," and that's here I am
Cool.
10 years
There you
later.
10 years old, 10 years. I remember AJ telling me that it's been around 10 years since
Yeah.
you started, and that's amazing. AJ?
Yeah, so I wanted you to talk a little bit about you said how you were robbed at, gunpoint at the bank. So tell them, just explain that story quick about what happened that day.
Um, it was like mid-afternoon and it was a quiet day. We're standing there and was the manager there. So here come in three guys with stockings over their face and igloo coolers actually. And one jumped right over the counter and he kind of figured who I was and thought I could let him into everything. And it was pretty scary. The whole thing lasted probably less than 3 minutes, but I felt like it was a lifetime. They tried to take my purse and I kind of fought that because they would know where I live. They would know everything. So they took money out of all the drawers. They wanted me to open the vault, but it was on a timer, so I couldn't do that. So
Oh,
they
wow.
they wound up leaving. And they were caught like an hour later. They were literally caught an hour later.
So, as we know, people watching TV and movies and stuff like that, there apparently there wasn't a lot of planning for an escape.
No.
No.
No, no. It was and it's crazy because where I was at that time was a highway. There was access to the highway. I mean, the highway was literally a hop, skip, and jump away, but they decided to take the road. So, not thinking clearly, they threw their gun out. They threw the guns out the window. Um, they took that little secret pack of money they're not supposed to take that explodes. So they were really,
Oh, they do that, eh?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
that's good.
did back
That's
then.
cool.
I don't know about now.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, I think, like, to be honest, here in Canada, there's not a lot of bank robberies here in Canada. Like, really, there's not. Like, we might hear of one maybe once, maybe twice a year.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah,
Now,
okay.
like
I'm not
makes it
saying
part
that
of
it
your
doesn't.
history.
What's that?
I said it makes it part of Canada's history when someone robs a bank because everyone's normally just like, "I'm sorry," I'm
Well,
sorry.
no, it's
You
not like
know?
that.
I'm just joking. I'm
I
just
know,
joking.
I know, I know.
Um,
But, a lot of times the media doesn't necessarily wanna cover that type of story, so
Mhm.
they don't always get out. Now, I will say they will cover that type of story, unfortunately, if somebody died.
Yes,
mm,
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
which is really unfortunate, and it really shows what's the word I'm looking for? It really shows you what the media is really like and what they're really after. And
yes.
that's why I don't really watch the news anymore because, whatever happened to the stories of walking through the woods and you found a bunch of puppies running around and you saved them. You
yeah,
don't
That's
hear stories like that anymore. The first thing you
no.
hear
no,
is either a car crash, a fire, or
yeah,
somebody dying in the
Yeah.
no,
first 6 or 7 stories.
Yes.
And then it's something pleasant.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, as a correctional officer, what do you find is the most challenging part of your job, being a correctional officer?
Um, I think the most challenging part is the people you work with, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, where I work, it's a level 5. It's the highest security prison in Connecticut, actually. All
So,
men.
okay, so what would be sorry, just to cut you off there. What would be like a level 5? Like, I don't know what that means because obviously I've
A,
never been to jail, so I don't know.
a level
Yeah.
5 would be most of the people that are not going home. They're there for life. They're probably your worst of your worst. Murders, rapists,
Gang member.
yeah, lots of gang members.
Yeah.
We actually have a whole unit of gang members. So yeah, it's just the ones that are really never going to go home for the most part, or they have a lot of time, 25, 50, 60 years, and they're come in at 18 and yeah.
So a day-to-day basis of dealing with these inmates, it's got to have its challenges at times. It really does.
It definitely does, especially I hate to say it, being a woman they feel that they can talk to you some sort of way. Sometimes they feel that they can push you around a little bit. Um, I think the key to working in in any prison really, or dealing with people that are unfortunately locked up almost 24/7. Can't, they're
Mm,
never going home. They're stuck living in pretty much a bathroom. There's a toilet and a bed and a sink, and they're all kind of together with another person. So they're agitated and upset and pretty much depressed most of the time. But
mm,
if you can speak with them, if you have that way of talking to them and being able to calm them down and not yell back at them or start off calling them all kinds of names, because a lot of them do. A lot of people, they get this job, they get a badge, and then they figure they could do whatever they want to do. But in a facilities, you can't do that. You have to give respect to get respect. And as a woman, I find that that works the best for me.
mm,
I'll start with the respect, and then if they return it, then fine. But if I have to turn it up with them, then that's what we do. The one thing is never to show them that you're afraid, no matter how afraid you are. Don't show
mm,
them that you're
mm,
afraid. You have to stand your ground, because once you back down from them, it's over. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
AJ?
Um, yeah, I wanted to ask, what are some of the ways that you cope emotionally with working in a prison all day long? I mean, speak about how many hours that you work. I mean, every day. I mean, it's just disgusting. I mean, talk about it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, most of our shifts are 8 hours. We do get mandated a lot. Um, so there's plenty of times where you're working out of your 5 days on, you're working 3 of them as 16-hour shifts straight
Oh,
through.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Snowstorms, holidays, Super Bowls, all those are what we call draft days. So if you go to work for your 8 hours, you better prepare to be there for 16, because that's usually what happens. Coping with it is, some days it's easy, some days it's very stressful. Um, Coming home, I have grandchildren, so seeing them, seeing my family, spending time home, that kind of helps me a lot. I try not to take the job home, which is hard
Mm,
also. Um, but sometimes you have to vent it out. But yeah, pretty much just I only get 2 days off. So I work that Monday through Friday, and I get Saturday and Sunday off. But I make that Saturday and Sunday count,
yeah, of course
and
you would
then
have to, right?
yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I try to make that count and do as much as I can.
Wow, I can I to be honest, like, when AJ told me, that you were coming on the show, the first thing that came to my mind is you have to be a certain kind of person to do that job. You really do. So, I'm actually kinda curious because you said something earlier about, getting respect and earning that respect, from them and them with you. What are your approaches to use when you have to de-escalate a conflict, between inmates? What is your strategy?
I haven't really had too many issues with inmates. I mean, I've had a couple. Again, how you act is how your block usually runs. So if you walk around being an idiot and calling these guys names and screaming and yelling, you're going to have a really hard shift.
Please don't
If
tell
you
me
go
that
in,
happens. Please tell me that doesn't happen.
right.
It
I
doesn't.
mean,
Yeah.
no, he wants to
Go
know,
ahead,
does it?
sorry.
He wanted to know, does it happen?
it does happen.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes, it
Wow.
does happen. It happens a lot. But I mean, I've had to break up a couple of fights, and before it's gotten to the fist fighting. Once they start hitting each other, I back out and wait for help. I don't, but once they're like yelling and you can see they're getting heated, I try to go over there and say, hey, guys, relax. What's going on? We don't want to do this. You're going to, lock down the whole block. No one's going to be happy. Let's talk about this. I try to separate them, try to get one to lock up, talk to one. And then usually it depends on how far they are into the issue or what the issue is. There's some people that, some of them guys, they don't care. They're going to do it no matter what. Um, but I have had some success also with the approach of, hey, you know what? You're going to lock down the whole block. These guys aren't going to be happy. Let's see what we can do to fix this. If I have an inmate that comes to me and he's freaking out about something, usually 9 out of 10 times I can get them to calm down because I'll help them. If it's something I can do for you, I will do it. Just, hey, calm down, tell me what the problem is. If it's someone I can call, if I can talk to a lieutenant, just let me take the chance, relax, calm down. And most of the time it will work. Where some of the people there, or I should say most of the people there that are don't put that's not my problem. That's your
Mm,
problem. Figure it out. And just offering them help goes a long way. Yeah.
cool. AJ?
So you've been there for 10 years now, and I want you to talk real quick about what you're actually doing now and how it's helping the inmates in rehabilitation, because I think it's very important, the area that you're in right now.
Yes. Right now I am we have a American vet dog program where we actually have puppies that come into the facility, and the inmates work with them and get them prepared to go with a veteran at the end of their cycle. So they come into the prison about 8 weeks old and they leave about 14 months old.
Oh,
And
wow,
the inmates,
that's a long time.
it is. And the inmates train them. They teach them all their basic commands. They teach them how to open up a refrigerator, how to open up doors, how to get food out, how to do laundry, put laundry in a dryer. It's amazing. And I have 22 guys in the program. I'm in charge of that program right now. So I work with those 22 guys every day. They do 3 training classes a day with me. I take the dogs to the vet when they need to go to the vet. Um, it's an awesome program, and we usually get to see the veteran get the dog, which is awesome. And
Cool.
by the time they leave us, they're fully trained.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
and the
That
inmates love it. They
yeah,
feel like they have a purpose.
and that's
A
what I
lot
was
of
gonna s
them.
yeah, and that's what
Mhm,
I was gonna say, it makes them feel and it's almost like gives them a even though they're locked up for, the rest of their lives or whatever
mhm.
that may be, they feel like they still have a little bit of a touch for the outside world.
Yes.
Because and I think that's amazing, and I've heard about this program. I've always supported this program. I think it's an amazing program. I don't think we do something like that in Canada, but I
Mhm.
know it's done in the States a lot because I always see videos on it or TV
Yeah.
shows on it, and I think it's really cool. Now, just getting back to um, your job,
Mhm.
if and this would probably be more of a question at the end of the show, but I'm going to ask you now because I'm actually really curious. If somebody wanted to get into doing what you're doing, what would be the steps or procedures that they need to do to become a correctional officer?
Basically, just that they just have to go online to the, it is, what's the thing?
In Connecticut, it's ct.gov, isn't it?
CT, yeah, I believe it's the CT. They've changed it so many times, but if they go on to CT.gov, um, they'll see there's correction officers, and they're always looking for correction officers. We're always short staffed. We always need people. If you apply online, then what they do is they'll get back to you and they set you up with all of these different dates. Like the first one would be the written test, and then you have to do an agility test, and that's changed quite a bit since I've gone through it. It's a lot easier now. When I
Mm,
went through it, it was more like you were in boot camp. It was
Mm.
crazy. But, and then they set up an interview. So if you pass as you pass, they'll continue to email you with the next date of something, you get to pick, but they'll, email you with the next step, and then you just pick a date and you do that, you pass that, they email you with the next step. Back when I was doing it, it took me exactly 2 years to get in with
oh
all of the
wow.
Yeah.
tests, and yes, I didn't think I was ever gonna get it, and then one day I got a call and they were like, "Hey, this is Lieutenant so and so, you still interested?" And I was like, "Wow, I forgot." Yeah,
I
you
forgot.
know?
Hey, guess what? I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, even when you pass everything and you did
Yeah.
everything right, you still had to wait, so it
Yeah.
was crazy,
So
but
what was
it
and that's awesome. I love it. So what was your first day like? When you got there, what like, you had to been nervous a little
oh my
bit,
god.
yeah.
Well, we at first you go through 10-week academy,
Okay.
So you're in class and you're doing drills and you're doing, like all kinds of stuff. We're fighting, we're rolling on the ground, we're learning moves, we're doing all that stuff. So the first time I walked into the prison thinking, okay, well, when they told me where I was going, I was like, okay, well, I've never heard of this place. I don't even know where this place is, but okay. So thinking now they're telling me, oh, it's a high level security, I'm thinking, okay. So I go in the first day and I'm standing outside the front doors and I'm looking around for like something to buzz or try to get in. And I see the people walking past me and I'm like, doors are unlocked. I just walk right in and I was like, wow, this is crazy. But when you walk through those doors and then you walk through this vestibule and those doors slide and close behind you, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and it does every single day because you never know what you're walking into.
Mm,
Where I am, you're walking side by side with inmates all day. They are out and about going to school, going to class, going to programs. They have church. They have everything. You name it, they
mm,
go to it. So they're walking around the halls just like you are. So you're
wow.
just pretty much walking around with all the inmates all day long. So it's not like they're locked up where we are. They're not. They have certain times that they're locked up, but all day they're out and about. So they go
Wow.
to gym. It's yeah.
Interesting. AJ?
Yeah, no, it's really scary if you think about it because it's like, these people, they're lifers and they're out and about, some of them, and they're walking side by side you. And if some of them are in a gang or something, or they get a call and they have to hurt somebody, it's like,
It's happened. Yeah, it has happened. They do like gang initiations. So we sometimes we get caught up in that. One of their initiations is assault a correctional officer. So it
Oh,
has
yeah.
happened. Yeah. And some of them, they get to know us as well and they don't want to do it, but if they know if they don't do it, it's probably going to be a lot harder for them to deal with not doing it opposed to doing it. So that happens a lot. It
Is
does.
there with that initiation, is there like they actually pick the officer? Because I can imagine, maybe I'm wrong, but I can imagine with you being there, they're more than likely to pick a male over a female.
Not
Or does it
necessarily.
really matter?
It doesn't matter. They'll just be like, okay, tonight you're going to do this. And unfortunately, I have someone I became really good friends with there, and he's just like me. He's really, he's good with the inmates. He, help out whatever he can. It just so happened that he came in for overtime one night and he was in the wrong block and there was some sort of initiation going on and he's lucky to be here today. And it doesn't really matter who you are. If these guys are gonna do it, they're gonna do it. Um, there's a big mental health facility. So again, you have a lot of guys on medications. If they choose not to take their meds, then you might walk into a problem and not realize it either, because they do have that choice.
Mm,
So they can say, I don't want my meds tonight, and then what you're thinking of you're going into could be a totally different scene. So you have to be on your toes at all times, even to the guys that you're familiar with, and you have a good rapport with. You never know.
that's interesting. Very interesting. So you talked about mental health a little bit there. What strategies do you use for your mental health and working in a correctional facility every single day? It must be quite stressful. So how do you deal with that personally yourself?
Um, it's I mean it's hard. Like I said, I do a lot with the grandkids and stuff when I'm not in there. When I am in there, my approach is I don't take anything there from the outside. So when I go in every morning, I start my day like, okay, here we go. This is, I've been the same exact person for 10 years, which has helped me a lot. I
Mm,
smile, I laugh, I joke. I talk to these guys like regular humans. So I try not to get really stressed there. There are times and there are situations where days are harder than others. I'm not going to lie. Coming home, I scream, I yell, you cry, because sometimes it is very stressful. These guys can make or break your day. I always tell my family, we don't lock them up. They lock themselves up and they let us go home. They have full control
Mm.
because we're outnumbered, and they know that, no matter how many of us are there on a daily basis. So when I go in there, I try to go in there with a positive attitude, and I try to spread that, to them, so that when I go in, they know, okay, she's here. We're going to have a good day because she's not going to bother us. She's not going to, and I don't. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, it's a nice, smooth day and everybody goes home.
That's great. That's great. AJ?
What are some of the things that you guys do to make sure that contraband and certain things don't enter the prison or enter the facility in certain blocks? Or is there a way that you guys monitor it in any way?
I mean, as far as visitors and stuff like that, they have to go through a metal detector before they come in. With the inmates, I mean, we do pat them down. If after a visit they do get strip searched, by the men. But basically we don't really have any type of, other than a pat search, we have nothing, no way to control it. And unfortunately, it's huge right now in the facilities. We have lots of drugs coming in, cell phones, lots of stuff. So it's been difficult.
So from your perspective, what changes or improvements could be made within the correctional system that would benefit both officers and inmates?
Um, I think that they really need to give us the responsibility of running our blocks. When I first started, we were able to do that. We were able to lock these guys up if they were acting stupid, take away their rec. Okay, you're not going to the gym today. You're not doing this. And unfortunately, as administration changes, they take more and more away from us. So our power is almost nothing now. So when we go into a block and these guys know, oh, we can act up today because she can't lock me up and she can't take this away from me anymore and she can't do this. So I think that needs to go back to not so much old school way, but at least letting us as COs run our blocks the way we need to run them. There's a lot of us there that know what we're doing, how to make a block run better, but they take a lot of our power away. I think they need to do a little bit better as far as rehabilitation with these guys too. They do college courses in schools, and they have like trades where they could do woodworking and industry stuff, and they do commissary. They do have a lot of jobs, but what the prisons need is something to be able to say to these guys, okay, here's all your tools, here's what you need to go out onto the streets and do what you need to do. They're pretty much going out blind. They don't get that.
Yeah.
They're getting dressed and they're going home, and some of them have been there for 25 years that don't even have a driver's license yet because they came in at 16 or 15, or so they get scared. A lot of them will tell you, they'll be like, I'm going home in a couple of weeks and I'm afraid. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what a computer
Mm.
is like. I don't know what a cell phone is like. So I think going forward, that needs to be changed, that they really do need to kind of educate these guys on going home and what you're going into, because sometimes it's safer in there than I feel safer out here sometimes. It's like, your devil and what you're going into, but out here on the streets and stuff, you don't know. It's
Yeah,
it's
that's
kind
tough.
of a
I can't even imagine you're locked up for, 35, 40 years, and then you're coming out to a completely different world.
yes.
And with technology and everything, it's and like I heard, I don't know the actual numbers, but I've actually heard that people that do leave the correctional system,
Hmm.
once they leave, they actually, and this is horrible, they either recommit because they want to go back, or they actually commit suicide.
Yes.
because they
Yes.
don't know what to do and they don't know how to handle that. And
Mhm.
I think for myself personally, I think it would be so beneficial for the inmates that are going to be released that they go through these types of classes. That what the
Absolutely.
real world is about right now, because
Mhm.
Mhm.
I can't even imagine what it would be like for them.
Oh,
But
it's
at the same point, you have to think, well, they put themselves in there in the first place. So you
yes.
kind of got to look at both sides. I know there's a lot of like there's a show on it's on Netflix. There's a guy that tours all these jails. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but he tours the worst jails in the world.
Mhm.
Oh, I think I
And
know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, and it's actually a really, really super cool show. And he was interviewing people that were being released and had been there for like 25 years, and they were scared shitless. They had no idea what they were going to do when they left. But then I think, okay, well, if they're being released and if they don't have any family, where did they go?
Yeah.
Th That's the
Where
thing.
did they go?
They have to have some sort of a sponsor, a place to go,
Okay.
but, if they don't, they're pretty much released on the street. That's it.
And what do they do? Like they're going to
I
be homeless? It like
Basically.
It's
it's
I think our
it's sad.
system, like I don't know about the system in the States. I know what it's like here. The system here is horrible. And I'm sure the system in the States is not any better.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I always wonder that if they don't have any family, what happens to them?
Yeah.
So that my feeling is maybe that's why they end up taking their life, because or recommitting and getting sent
Mhm.
back.
Yes.
Um,
There's
and
been
it's
quite a few people that have come back since I've been there, just because they don't know what to do. They don't know how to make money any other way than the way they made it before they came in.
mm,
So, they're not looking to make their money, slowly. They need to make it fast because they do need a place to live or they do need to, feed themselves. So,
Mhm.
to go get a job, you still have to wait a couple of weeks. But if I go back and I do what I was doing, I can get money right now.
wow,
So
yeah.
that's a lot of them. And going back to what you had said about they got themselves in there, that's true. Um, I have met a lot of inmates that did come in at the age of 15, 16, and now they're 40 something, 50 something going home. And you see the way they have changed. Like I've seen them for my 10 years being there, and you see how not all of them, but some of them will mature. They better themselves. They get their high school education. They take college courses. They take everything they possibly can to go home with the tools that they need to get a job. And there's a lot of them that will sit around and play cards all day and basketball, and they don't even care if they go home or not. So you get both sides, and
Mm,
I get that, yes, at maybe 15 or 16, you killed somebody and now you're here, you did but now you're 50 and you wanna go home and you wanna have a family and you wanna do the right things, and so it's hard, you kind of you feel bad on one end of one aspect of it, and then on the other aspect of it, you say, "Well, look what you did to this poor person who didn't have a choice."
Mm.
So it's kinda hard.
yeah. So has there been a specific moment during your 10-year career as a correctional officer that impacted your life in some way,
Um,
personally or emotionally?
with the inmates, you mean, or
Well, no, is there it's like yeah, is there has there been a specific moment on the job where it really impacted you emotionally or mentally or whatever it may be?
there was, one. I mean, we see a lot of fights.
Yeah.
In the beginning, that used to really bother me too because I wasn't used to all of that, and, they use weapons, so it can get a little crazy. But I think the one that really impacted me the most was when one of the inmates committed suicide,
Mm,
because we do have a lot of that also. And running to that code was your adrenaline is kicking up first of all because when they call it you already know what it is, so you're running to that, but to go in and actually see somebody hanging and it's that was rough. That one was rough.
And those
because
are and those are things that you never get rid of.
no, no, nothing I ever thought I would see, honestly.
Yeah.
Even going into the prison, I'm like, I know it happens, but then you realize that, well, every other day it's something, and you think you've seen it all until maybe the next day. And so it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it's a little,
agree.
yeah.
AJ?
Yeah, no, it's wild. I wanted to ask, what are some of the ways that they will make certain weapons in there if they don't have anything to really make them with? Like, how do they make them? What do they do?
Um, they find ways. They're around a lot of things, especially like industries when they all work. They're around a lot of tools, a lot of wood, and the biggest thing is
Mm,
toothbrushes. They'll sharpen the edge of the bottom of their toothbrush and make it nice and pointy. They'll use pencils, pens. They have brooms, they have mops, they have lots of things and we do not have anything. We do not carry weapons, we do not carry spray, we don't carry anything in our units. So it's just us and a radio and some handcuffs. And they have like all of these tools around them, mopping the floor, sweeping the floors. Um, that's why I say we're totally outnumbered
mm,
with
Yeah,
with
so
them.
and that's obviously for safety reasons, right? Because if they
Right.
allowed you to carry a gun, that could be
Yeah.
a real issue, especially if you're manhandled and they get the gun off
And
you,
they
right?
take it
So
away.
I
Yeah.
can understand that.
Yeah.
AJ, you want to read Anna's question?
yeah. So Pam Harris asked Anna, do any of these inmates talk to younger generations to help them deter their life in a different direction?
They do. It's more of the older guys that have been there for like when they came in as teens and they're there for 30, 40, 50 years. They will take a lot of the young kids and they will take them under their wing and they'll try to set them in, to go the right way. It is hard because when they come in as kids at 18, they feel like they have to be tough and they have to start a fight because they want to show that they're not afraid. um, but we do have a lot of inmates that are willing to take them under their wing, and they do help them, and it's great. They don't actually have a program, which I think they should, but they don't have any types of programs like that. It's just if they decide they want to do that, they will
Yeah,
do it.
I've seen a program on, I think it was on A&E, where they brought in troubled youths that were getting in trouble,
Hmm.
and they brought them in to straighten their lives out and see the
It's a great
I
reality
think
strategy.
of
that's a
prison.
great idea.
Yeah,
Honestly, I think the kids today might benefit from that.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I definitely agree. That would be an excellent program for them to do, and I don't know why more jails or prisons don't do that. And I kind of understand. Well, in one aspect, I kind of understand because funding is the government really doesn't do a lot of funding
Hmm.
for prisons. It's like throw them in prison and throw away the key and forget
Yeah.
about them. That's kind of the mentality, which is
Mhm.
really unfortunate because I don't care what they've done, they're still people.
That's it, they're human.
Yeah,
I
they're
can't
still
tell you
people.
how many times a day I get thanked by them for treating them as a human being. I'm like, "Well, that's what you are, regardless of why you're in here. That my job is not to punish you. You've already been punished. My job is to make sure you do what you're supposed to be doing, and that's it." So, but they always, "Oh my god, you, like, treat us like human beings." It's so nice that we actually have someone here that will talk to us and help us, and
Mhm.
I mean, it's just something that people should be doing anyway. That's just the way I see it. We're not there to judge them or punish them.
I'm not sure if you can talk about this, but it is a question that I wrote down. Are there protocols when it comes to safety for the correctional officers? Like, is there certain protocols that you guys have to abide by, or the inmates have to abide by to keep you guys safe?
Um, there is nothing that I could really talk about,
Okay.
but they do have them. Um, you know, uh, sometimes the inmates will tell us, like, if our protocols aren't really being kept up or things start to get a little like holiday time. Let's say that for holidays now, the inmates get depressed. They get a little antsy. They can't be home with their family. Sometimes we're really short staffed over the holidays, so they get locked up a little bit more. So that brings out a lot of stress and anger towards us because they feel like, well, you're getting to go home with your family and we're not, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, um, but when it gets a little crazy and, we feel like, okay, well, we don't feel safe going into the prison and doing this, the inmates will also feel unsafe. We'll get inmates that will come up to us and say, hey, what happened to safety and security? Because we don't even feel safe in here.
Yeah.
So they see that as well. When everybody starts to get lax on that, administration or, safety and security is not being followed, they also don't like it because now they don't feel safe either.
Interesting. And just to follow up Pam's question, have you actually seen change for someone for the better with doing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I've seen quite a few. And like I was saying before in my program, I have 22 guys and the majority of them are they're I got a couple that aren't going home in there. And it has changed these guys. It has made them so humble and appreciative and like they have this purpose in life and they want to give back to the community and this is their way of giving back to the community. So it's just humbled them. I have gang members that are in the program and they cry. The puppy comes and they cry, or the puppy leaves, they cry, and they're on the ground and they're playing with these dogs, and you're just like, wow, it's something to see. You wouldn't
Yeah.
expect to see that.
It and I know that obviously being a correctional officer, you got to have certain standards and you got to think certain ways, but in some ways you must get a little bit emotional too when you see these inmates crying after they've trained this dog and the dogs are leaving, and
Yeah,
it
oh
must
my
it
god.
Oh,
must be so fulfilling for you.
It's terrible. I
oh,
know.
don't even talk about it. Are you kidding me? He wants to bring every single one of them
I know.
home.
I wanna bring all the dogs home with me.
Oh,
Hey, if
my
you
eyes
did, you
are even
wouldn't have to
showing.
do any
I
more
know.
chores by the sounds of it because they do everything for you.
I know. They will. They'll do everything. It's tough. It is tough. I mean, we have inmates that come and go and, I just had one leave the program. He went home. He was in since he was a kid, and I've known him since day one when I started in the facility because he was in the block that I started with. And, he was in my dog program, and watching him mature from a kid to a grown up to this dog program to be ready to go home to already have jobs lined up before he walked out of there and people lined up to help him. And when he left, I almost felt like he was one of my children because he was still young. And I said to him, and even he said, if I could hug you, I would. He goes, because you have helped me through so many hard times with my grandmother dying and my mom being in the hospital and just being there to able to talk to them and get them through a lot of their things in life that, you know, we can come home and talk to our family with, but they don't really have anybody.
Mm,
So when he left, I felt kind of like happy, and glad for him, and I was like, "Please don't come back."
yeah,
You've gone
of
so
course.
far, and
Yeah.
for them to tell me that I was a big part of that, is it's a big deal. It is. I mean, yes, you work in a prison with criminals and you work with bad people, but they're not all horrible, terrible people. Some people are in there for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you know, it happens, or they're
Every
in there for
yeah.
protecting their family.
I'm one of those, everybody makes mistakes and we all deserve a
Mhm.
second chance. And unfortunately some of them are not going to get that second chance.
Right.
Which is the unfortunate part, but at the
yeah.
same time they still did it.
Yes.
Um
Yeah.
and I guess you can only feel so bad for them, right? And
Right. And that's,
so
that's the thing. There's, again, and I said sometimes it's hard because some of them are in there for protecting their kids or protecting their family. And unfortunately, with the way the system works, they're in there for actually, you know, I understand they killed somebody. I get that, but you were protecting your family.
Mm,
So it's hard, you know, it's hard. You got to understand that side of it, but then I also understand the other side of it because now you have a family who's lost somebody. So
yeah,
it's hard.
yeah. AJ?
Yeah, no, I wanted you to talk about some of the talents that you've seen in some of these guys
Ugh,
that you've worked with. I mean, I've gotten to see some talents, and I tell you, I mean, even just some things on the internet you can see with people making ramen noodles and some crazy shit with Doritos
yeah, they
with
do.
a piece of gum wrapper.
They do.
But talk about some of the
They
no,
do.
A
that's serious. It's
Yeah,
MacGyver.
great.
A
it's
MacGyver. Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
MacGyver? Yeah,
it's very true, very
yeah,
true. They can
yeah.
the way they cook, they have hot pots and, you know, they have other things that they're not supposed to have too, but they make some meals out of ramen noodle soup and pieces of meat from their dinner, and they can just make gourmet meals. I see some of the stuff go by and I'm like, wow, that smells good. I'm looking at, I'm like, what is that? And they'll tell me how they do it. And but the talent that some of these guys have, they can make things out of tinfoil. And I've seen guys make purses, like actual purses for women, wallets, animals, boats. I have a big boat in my office that one of the inmates made with all the puppies on it, and it's just it's a boat out of like popsicle sticks and stuff that they do, and it's amazing at some of the
Mm,
stuff. And we have painters in there. They can paint some pictures
oh
with
man,
just with colored pencil. You would think that this was an artist that was
yeah.
painting these pictures. It's just
You
it's
know,
amazing.
yeah, you know, while you're talking about that in the prison and the outside life, I started thinking about something that I find really, really odd. And I don't know if you can answer this question. You might not even have an answer for this, but I'm always curious on why some of these, you know, these inmates get these fans that write them and want to marry them and want to be in their life somehow. And like it always baffles my mind. There was a I can't recall his name, but there was quite a famous person that he was in the jail. He was in the system, and he was getting all these fan letters that people wanted to these women wanted to marry him. And
Mhm.
it's like, where does that come from? Like, this person committed murder and you're writing to him because you want to be in a relationship with him. What
Yes.
is I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. What is mentally wrong with you?
yeah, yeah,
It's true. It's true. I mean, we all say the same thing. Like even when people come to visit them, they have all these young girls, and they are beautiful girls, and they're coming in, and they're, you know, they're seeing someone who's there for 25, 30 years. And I always say, why? You know, why are you I don't know. I don't know what it is. I wish I could answer that question, but we see it all the time. And I have seen 3 marriages in the facility since I've been there.
And
So,
did they know each other before they went in?
no.
Or see, this is it baffles me.
yo, it's
Yes,
crazy that the jail allows to have a wedding for it.
they do. They
Like,
do. Yeah.
I can't imagine
Playing the
me.
fucking crazy game.
Yeah, I can't imagine me. There's a woman in jail and me writing to this woman and, you know, expressing my love for her and knowing that she's going to be in there for the rest of her life. Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
what is
Yes.
wrong with people? Like, I think on the flip side of that, maybe you should be in there too.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, there's the guys, they're like, "Oh, my girlfriend this, my girlfriend that." And I'm like, you know, "Oh, that's nice. How long you been together?" "Oh, I just met her over a phone call." And I'm like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay. So how's that working for you?" You know, I don't know. And they're like, "Oh yeah, when I get out, we're going to get a house and we're going to," and I'm like, "Oh, all right. Well,
Are they
Mhm.
allowed
I mean,
special visit? Are they allowed special visits? You know
no,
what I
that
mean?
when I first started, we did. We had a
Oh,
few,
really?
yes, and it was
Wow.
only like 4. They were kinda grandfathered in because they were been there for a long time. Um, and it was weird. It's a little weird because we have to go and check on them, and we have to, you know, a little scary too because you never know what you're gonna walk into, you know? Who knows what's gonna they kinda have a it was kind of like a secluded area, kind of like a little, um almost like set up like a hotel room. You know, they had a little kitchenette, they have a bedroom, they had a living room. So it was, yeah, it was weird. I'm kind of glad they ended that because that was a little freaky for me. You know, being a female walking back there to check on, you know, this guy with his
Knock,
family.
knock. Are you
Yeah.
finished yet?
Yeah, right.
So I'm kind of glad that's gone now. So and they're not, but I'm
With
kind
knocking, and that's that awkward moment of
of,
knocking and
well,
saying, "Are you finished yet?" Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
like
the
it's just
opposite, you
weird.
know, he freaked out and killed them all, and now you're walking into this, you know, it's like, oh my God, you
Yeah,
know,
well,
God forbid, but
that I understand why they got rid of that
yeah,
particular thing because it could have been somebody coming in that's meeting this guy for the first time, and who's to say that guy's not gonna, do her in
that's
because
it.
he gets satisfied for that,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you never know. Like that's just setting the prison up for a lawsuit.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Like it like the parents are suing the prison because they allowed the girl to go in there and go
Yeah.
into a special room and she
Mm-hmm.
got killed
Yeah.
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 because
No,
you
that's
don't
true.
need a weapon to kill someone.
No.
No.
Nope. You definitely
Like
don't. Nope.
so Pam, so I know Pam, you asked this question. It is in the description that where she works at. If you can say where you work again, you work at 2 prisons, right?
Well, there are two prisons, but they're actually one. I work at McDougal Walker in Suffield.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that it's two different prisons, but they consider us as one. So if we work at McDougal, we can also work at Walker. So they kind of flip flop
Interesting.
us sometimes.
Wow, this has really been insightful. I've learned a lot on this particular show, more than I probably needed to know, to be no.
Yeah, yeah. And listen, it's if you ever want to work there, it's an interesting job. Your days are never dull.
Yeah,
You never
yeah.
know what you're going into, you know.
I think I'm way past that point. Well, of course, you started at the age of, I think you said 46, right? Yeah,
46.
so,
So it's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I like the distance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You're
I
there,
mean,
I'm here.
we
Yeah.
to get your benefit like your pension now it's 25, but when I started, we only have to do 20. So
Oh, wow.
I'm thinking I still have a 10 years to go if I want to get my full pension, but we'll
Interesting.
see. It's a long time.
That is a long time.
It is. It
It
is.
did
But
20
it'll bring
years
me
is a
to
long
like
time.
retirement age if I really want to
Yeah.
stay that
Well,
long.
if you think about it, you were in the banking for 20 years, then you're gonna be in the, correctional officer for 20 years. I think you're gonna be due time for, kick back those feet and say, "Fuck it,"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
done.
And
When
sometimes it feels like we're doing time because we're there and we're
Yeah, and I thought about that because of the fact that when you said your first day, the doors are closing behind you and you get that nervous hair standing at the back of your,
Mhm.
it's almost like it's gotta somewhat feel like you're actually kind of locked up yourself.
Yes, it is. And I mean, the inmates, they get to make phone calls, they get to have their tablets, they get lots of things. We don't get to use our phones, we don't get to talk to anybody at home, nothing. So you are kind of locked up because we don't get anything of the outside world while we're inside the prison. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's hard and it's not a bright and cherry place either. I mean, it's pretty, you know, dingy and depressing and you make the most of it. That's the best you can do is you make what you know, the best of what you have to work with and
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of the show, you have to be a special or certain kind of person to do this job. And it's true. Um,
mm.
I don't think I would be able to do it, to be honest, as much as it seems intriguing, and you can hear my dogs going a little bit crazy. Sorry, folks.
That's
And,
right. Arthur's
yeah,
upstairs at the door waiting for her right now,
Yeah,
just
he's
waiting.
whining and crying for me right now.
yeah, but, I really appreciate you coming on today's show and taking some time out to talk about your career, and it's been really insightful, and I've had a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
it's been great, and is there anything you wanna say, AJ, before we go?
No, I just want to say that I think the reason why she's that special kind of person to work in this industry is because, you know, she had my father as a brother who was in and out of jail his whole life, and you know, then me with my legal problems when I was younger. And she's always been great at handling situations like that. And I think that if there is anybody handling these inmates, I would rather see her do it than anybody else, because the way that she treats people is beyond great than anything else. She's always doing something for somebody else, never doing it for herself. And it's just amazing to see. So
Yeah, that's great. And thank you again for coming on today's show. So we were right when it comes to Instagram. Well, I think I said at the beginning of the show.
yep,
So apparently StreamYard is still having a problem with Instagram because apparently StreamYard has actually reached out to Instagram because for some reason when it comes up to an hour, the show stops on Instagram for some reason. But keeping in mind that this is still in beta for
yeah,
Instagram. So it did shut down. It sent out a notice that it did shut down, but we got most
yeah,
of the show in, so that's great.
that's
And
awesome.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of fun. And again, I want to say thank you for coming on today's show.
Well, thank you
And
for having me. And it was nice meeting you.
yeah, it was very, very nice meeting you.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about you,
Oh
especially
boy.
over the last week. All good
Oh
things,
boy.
all good things, all good
That's
things. So yeah, thank you again
yeah.
for coming
You
on.
have to be a special person to have a nephew like this too.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Mhm.
Only because some days I'm reminding AJ about a particular thing because he's forgotten about it.
Oh no.
Oh no, not me.
No.
Never.
Never,
He never
No.
forgets about
God,
anything.
no.
No,
never.
but AJ's been a blessing, and it's kind of funny how we met AJ or how I met AJ because and it's kind of funny because it kind of correlates with the inmate thing
Yeah,
Mm.
it
because
does.
Yeah.
there was a guy that was frauding everyone on who he was, and he was basically leading a double life,
Oh
telling
wow.
everybody that he was a psychic and a medium, and he wasn't. He actually
Oh,
spent
I didn't
time in
know the show
jail.
had a full
He
story.
actually,
really?
yeah, he actually spent time in jail for defrauding an elderly woman out of $300,000.
Oh my
And
God.
so he spent some time in jail, but everybody was so fascinated with this guy because he had a story that was so out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about what's his name, the serial killer. What was Ted Bundy?
Yeah,
Apparently
Oh
he
Ted
wow.
interviewed
Bundy
him.
was talking about. Yeah,
Yeah, apparently he interviewed it, which was a complete lie.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
all a lie.
yeah. Said he was a
So
forensic psychologist and
yeah,
everything.
Oh my God.
Yep,
Wow.
he told some wonderful stories, and
yeah,
basically he was just a guy who worked at a homeless shelter.
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
So
That's funny.
yeah, but really he was popular for about 4 months, and then somebody started doing some backtracking on him. Started somebody that we know, me and AJ,
Mhm.
Kenny Biddle.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He started doing some investigations and started looking at his past, and he came out with all this stuff that everything was saying was a complete lie. He even called the school that apparently he attended, and they had
yep,
never heard of him.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
They went deep.
Wow.
They went deep
Yeah, it
in
went
it. It
very
was
deep, but that's how I met AJ because I
yeah,
reached out to AJ and told him because they were doing a series with him.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I said to AJ, and I know what AJ thought when I first messaged. He goes, "Who the
Oh
fuck is
yeah,
this?
no. I
Who
thought I
the
was
fuck is this
expecting the
guy?
guest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was all for. Yeah,
who's this guy telling me all this stuff?" Well,
yeah. I don't
guess
know. This
AJ,
fucking Brian John guy. Get him
yeah,
out of here. You know.
I guess AJ started doing some investigating himself,
Yeah,
and I sent him some mug shots of this
Wow.
guy,
yeah,
of him being in
Mhm.
jail. So everything he was talking about was a complete lie. Well, it ended up getting around. It spread out like a wildfire that
wildfire.
this guy was
Yeah,
a complete fake, and he left Facebook. He closed down everything and now disappeared.
yeah.
And he's
Wow.
nowhere
That's
to be found.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
That
very
is.
crazy. But that's how I met AJ.
Well, see,
Right?
so
Yeah,
something
something
good came
good.
out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
good. I don't know about
Well,
that.
that's questionable sometimes.
Well, yeah, well, but no,
But no, but I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on today. And again, I want to thank everybody that was in the room that asked questions. And you're always a great support when you come into the room, and I appreciate that. So I'm going to say my goodbyes. We will see everybody next week. We will be doing a reaction video on a video, We'll be doing a
That
reaction
makes
video.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna react on a video.
We're
That's
going to
what
react on a video. Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spit that out and it didn't make any sense to me. And I regretted it after I said it.
Yeah, you did. You
So-
did. I saw the I saw it. But no,
But
thank
you want to say your goodbyes, AJ?
Yeah, no, I just want to thank everyone so much for watching. Thank you to my aunt who came tonight. I really appreciate you taking time out with the family, and coming down. And just want to say thank you guys. Come check us out tomorrow night. I mean, to Sunday night next week. Wow, tomorrow night. Sunday next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Parapost Network Central on Facebook. And also check us out on the go on your favorite podcast listening service, whichever one you like. We are on all of them at Crime Documentaries. Just look for the guy, that looks like basically Brian standing next to a bar window.
Does not look like me at all.
Okay, it looks like Tony Soprano, but still.
Yeah, I want to say that we were also on YouTube tonight. So if you want to go over to our YouTube channel and give us a follow and a like and share the video if you can. And we really appreciate all of you. And this was a great show. I enjoyed every moment of it, and even making fun of AJ a little bit.
Yeah, that's always
fun.
the best part.
Yeah, it's always the best part. Yeah, it's always. Anyways, everyone, again, thank you, and we'll see you next week. Ciao, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.